a massive armored convoy carrying over 7.2 tons of drugs worth $420 million brazenly tore through the Arizona desert in broad daylight, defying all limits of America. On the 12th of July, 19 war vehicles, escorted by over 80 ferocious gunmen, thought they were untouchable. But they had no idea that every move was being tracked from the air, every plan exposed, and a deadly trap awaited in the canyon. Where would this arrogance lead them? One wrong moment nearly destroyed everything, turning the desert into a furnace. Comment number 1, and dive into the thrilling story of the shocking ambush where America struck back with unrelenting force. Don't miss out, watch now. At 11:12 in the morning, on the 12th of July, the South Arizona desert trembled under the relentless roar of engines. Through the heat waves, a steel serpent of 19 armored vehicles tore through the sand, their glossy black frames glinting under the scorching sun. This was no ordinary smuggling operation. Inside the reinforced compartments were 7.2 tons of drugs, enough to drown a city, enough profit to bring in over $420 million on the American market. Each vehicle was equipped as if ready for war. The lead vehicles bore 50 caliber machine guns, their barrels sweeping back and forth like predators marking their territory. American commanders knew that if this convoy succeeded within weeks, millions of fentanyl doses would flood the streets of Houston, New York, and Los Angeles, triggering an unprecedented wave of deaths. This wasn't just a drug issue, it was a direct threat to national security. So the decision was made: SEAL forces would be the claws on the ground, while the U.S. Air Force locked down the skies. To avoid civilian and American casualties, the strike had to be completely covert, leaving no trace and hit like a sudden nightmare. Inside the cabins and cargo holds, over 80 gunmen sat with weapons slung across their chests, shouting into radios, believing the path ahead had been cleared by cartel bosses in Mexico. The cartel's message was clear: they could brazenly move in broad daylight on American soil, and nothing could stop them. But they were wrong. High above, invisible in the blazing light, an MQ-9 Reaper drone circled at 26,000 feet, watching every move. Its thermal sensors tracked each scorching engine block, each flickering brake light, every desperate radio signal echoing through the desert. Every detail was relayed to the command center at Davis Monthan Air Force Base, where 12 screens displayed a real-time 3D map of the kill zone. The convoy thought they were ghosts in the sand. In reality, they were surrounded. Speed, distance, even the weight of each load had been measured and recorded with second-by-second precision. For the cartel, the border lay just ahead. For the Americans, it was completely sealed. They weren't heading toward safety. They were charging into a canyon chosen with surgical precision, where every escape route had been erased before the first tire touched the ground. In the 7 days prior, SEAL recon teams crawled along the canyon ridges, marking firing positions with infrared paint visible only through specialized goggles. Beneath the sand, 18A1 Claymore mines were buried in staggered layers, their trigger wires snaked to elevated hideouts. Seismic sensors were placed to detect every engine vibration from the cartel. As the convoy entered, the canyon was already a cage 600 meters long, 40 meters high, and just wide enough for 2 vehicles to pass. High above, an AC-130J Ghost Rider circled silently. Its 30mm and 105mm guns were locked on targets, laser-guided rounds ready in the bay. On the ridges, 160 SEAL operators lay prone, rifles, steadied scopes glowing green in the Arizona heat. Every detail was calculated, the choke point, the timing, the firing angles. But then the plan nearly collapsed. At 11:23 in the morning, as the first 3 vehicles crossed the seismic line, a Claymore mine circuit failed to activate. On the UAV feed, a red warning flashed at the command center. Simultaneously, a gunman in the second vehicle spotted an unusual glint on the cliff face, sunlight reflecting off a suppressed rifle barrel. His voice cracked over the radio, shouting in Spanish. In that moment, everything hung in the balance. If the alarm spread, 19 vehicles and over 80 gunmen would unleash a hail of bullets into the canyon, trapping the SEALs in their own ambush. A SEAL inches from the faulty trigger circuit. The errant round exploded at their feet. The blast killed 3, instantly flaming shrapnel scattering across the ground. The canyon was no longer a road. It was a furnace. In 7 minutes, half the convoy became smoldering wreckage. Screams blended with automatic gunfire and the hiss of burning drugs from ruptured containers. The brazen daylight assault had collapsed into a slaughterhouse of sand and steel. The trap was sealed with no escape. The battle grew fiercer. Follow to see what happens next. Do you support this war to destroy the cartel? If yes, comment number 2. If not, comment number 5. At 11:36 in the morning, the canyon became a killing ground. Flames and smoke billowed a black column, blotting out the sky. The acrid stench of burning drugs, chemicals, and diesel fused into a choking haze. The convoy, once a symbol of arrogance, was now a shattered battlefield. Cartel gunmen scattered in desperation. Some tried climbing the rocky slopes, fingers clawing at the cliffs, only to be picked off by snipers above. Others rallied behind vehicle wrecks, blindly firing AK-47s at the ridges. But every muzzle flash was a target. 2 SEAL snipers with MK-13 Mod 7 rifles dropped each one their rounds, striking true from over 800 meters. The Ghost Rider roared again from above. Its 105 mm cannon thundered the shockwave, rattling the canyon floor. A single round turned the cartel's command vehicle into a crater of fire, killing at least 9 in seconds. The aircraft pivoted instantly, spitting 30 mm rounds to pin down survivors. By now, 12 of the 19 vehicles were either burning or immobilized. Steel, twisted tires, shredded glass shards scattered like ice. Temperatures near the wrecks exceeded 120 degrees Fahrenheit, forcing cartel gunmen to abandon cover and run into the open. None made it more than 10 steps. Amid the chaos, a cartel lieutenant tried to break through. He leapt into a Ford Raptor mid-convoy, floored the gas, and plowed through debris. The truck roared, trailing flames. For a moment, it seemed he might escape. But then a Reaper drone silently circled above, releasing an AGM-114 Hellfire missile. The strike was instant. A blinding flash and explosion that vaporized the Raptor, leaving only a crater and shrapnel raining like bullets. Resistance weakened by the minute. Gunmen fired pistols and shotguns, weapons useless against the combined might from air and ground. A SEAL team advanced from the eastern ridge, moving methodically, suppressed barrels flashing as they swept the canyon. Short, controlled bursts dropped each target. By 11:47 in the morning, just 18 minutes after the first explosion, the canyon was unrecognizable. Of the initial force, over 40 cartel gunmen were dead, their bodies strewn among burning wreckage. 6 more vehicles erupted in secondary explosions, drugs igniting into toxic fireballs that turned sand to glass. The battle had become a slaughter. The steel snake, once roaring with confidence, was now a charred skeleton, limbs scattered, and clouds of black smoke. At 12:02 in the afternoon, the desert fell silent. The final bursts of gunfire faded into smoke, leaving only the crackling of burning steel. The canyon floor, once alive with the roar of 19 armored vehicles, now resembled a junkyard graveyard. Flames licked shattered cabins, pools of melted rubber seeping into the earth. The air hung heavy with the bitter stench of chemicals. Tons of drugs burned to ash. SEAL Team 6 moved cautiously through the wreckage, rifles sweeping left and right, neutralizing the last pockets of resistance. Orders passed in clipped whispers. Any gunman still armed was dropped without hesitation. Those who surrendered were bound hands, zip-tied faces pressed into the sand. when the U.S. Air Force commander pointed at the screen and declared, "We don't need a scalpel." Every hostage was freed, and medical units immediately began stabilizing the weakest among them. By now, the Americans controlled nearly 70% of the ship. The bridge was shattered, the engine room secured, and cartel fighters were fleeing below deck. One SEAL assault group swept the surveillance control center, disabling every camera feed in just 3 minutes, blinding the remaining defenders completely. But in a fleeting span, it all turned to ash. The MQ-9 Reaper, silent at 7,000 meters with infrared sensors relaying data every 8 seconds, exposed the entire perfect plan. The SEAL team, patiently waiting in the mountains for 36 hours with claymores, sniper rifles, and other weapons, turned the Arizona desert into a death box. These details aren't just technical descriptions. They are a declaration. America relies not only on firepower, but on intelligence, discipline, and absolute coordination. The greatest lesson wasn't in the number of vehicles destroyed or sicarios killed. It lay in the gap between perception and reality. The cartel believed darkness, money, and arrogance could shield them. But the U.S. proved that in the age of modern warfare, darkness is no sanctuary. Electronic eyes in the sky, special forces hidden in the sand, and the seamless coordination of UAVs, rocket artillery, and helicopters turned the cartel's confidence into a deadly trap. The capture of key lieutenants and the destruction of hundreds of millions of dollars in cartel goods dealt a crippling blow to their net worth. For the cartel, the myth of invincibility at the border shattered in less than 30 minutes. For America, it was proof that true power lies not in firing first, but in waiting for the perfect moment, striking with such speed and force that the enemy has no chance to respond. This ambush will be studied in tactical manuals for years to come, a textbook example of intelligence coordination and overwhelming firepower. The surviving stragglers carried that message. As daylight spread across the desert, it revealed the scale of the victory. Black smoke rose in thick columns visible for miles. Scattered survivors stumbled through the dunes, hunted by patrolling drones. American units stood firm, armored vehicles aligned in formation, weapons ready for any next fight. The battlefield was theirs. The convoy was gone. The message to the world was clear. This wasn't just a skirmish. It was a demonstration. Against overwhelming planning, precision, and coordination, no force relying on chaos could prevail. The desert had spoken, and its message was final. Try once and there won't be a second chance. A warning that anyone daring to call their plan perfect when facing the U.S. will meet only one outcome, a perfect trap. The story of the Sinaloa Cartel's perfect plan quickly became a vivid testament to the difference between illusion and reality. The cartel was absolutely confident that their plan for the night of August 25th was flawless. 20 armored pickup trucks, over 150 heavily armed sicarios, a precisely calculated route, bribed border cameras, and a safe patrol window. Not just a resounding victory, but a steel-clad warning cross America's line, and you'll face unrelenting force. But what do you think? Did the cartel anticipate the price of their arrogance? Do you believe ambushes like this will shift the war on drugs? Leave a comment below, share your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to catch more thrilling stories. Together we'll uncover the secrets behind these victories. See you in the next video.